Builders Code is a baseline code of conduct standard for the construction industry in British Columbia, Canada. It's offered with a suite of no-cost and low-cost support services that assist employers in improving their worksite culture. And it was created by a group of industry stakeholders led by the BC Construction Association, or the BCCA. It launched in March 2019, and the pilot ran essentially for 2 years. So since February of 2021, it's been self-sustaining and is now fully managed by the BC Construction Association. The Builders Code was created because BC's construction industry has been experiencing a severe skilled labor shortage for a number of years. What we know is that diversity is essential to meet the skilled worker shortage that we have in the construction industry. It's a very male-dominated industry. It's predominantly white. And we know that we need to attract more people to the industry, but we also know that when they come to work in the construction industry, they need to have a good experience. They need to have a positive experience. And we have not been seeing that for everyone, particularly for non-traditional workers. So the specific goal of the Builders Code was to reduce the skilled trade shortage through the improved retention of tradeswomen. Post-pilot, even though we're still very interested in improving the retention rates of tradeswomen, we are focused much more broadly on putting the foundations in place to reduce the incidence of racism and discrimination and bias across the board for everyone. The Builders Code is a suite of services for employers to help them facilitate culture change in their company and on their construction work site. And the key features really, it all comes from this idea of a baseline code of conduct standard. A baseline code of conduct standard that is defined by what we call the acceptable worksite pledge. And this is a very simple pledge that a company can sign or a work site can sign. And it makes a commitment to a level of treatment and behavior that is acceptable for that work site. Beyond the acceptable worksite pledge, we have free HR policies, which can be downloaded from our website. And these policies are written in plain language, specifically for the construction industry and specifically for small and medium employers who may not already have their own policies. We also have real live human Builders Code advisors that are available by phone, by email. They'll meet with you in person, and they're there to help you not only understand how the Builders Code can support your company, but they're there to act as an HR person confidentially for your company if you have a situation where there's a negative dynamic on a job site, whether that's related to the integration of a new tradeswoman on a site or a racist incident or anything like that, we have confidential advisors, which I think is a really important defining characteristic of our program. We also offer training. This is the only cost associated with participating in the Builders Code. We've segmented our training for the executive leadership group, the on-site leadership group. We are very flexible in terms of the training that we offer because every employer is so different, the needs are so different. And so we have a 2-hour virtual course that we can facilitate. We will come to your office and we will do it on site if that is better for you. We can do a 6.5-hour session that you can collect gold seal points for participating in. And then we have a virtual training app called Cooler Tool, which is specifically for the crews, and you don't need to come off site to participate in that app. Because we knew from the beginning that while a CEO or an HR manager or even a site super might be able to come off a job site to undertake some training, that the crews never would be able to do that. And we knew that if we couldn't change the conversation at the worker, at the tradesperson level, that we wouldn't really be successful in changing the culture. And so we've created an app. It's called Cooler Tool. We use animated tools, which are depicting real life scenarios, things that do happen on a job site, but with a little bit of humor. They're non-gendered. And what you do if you download the app is you get a question or two every day early in the morning before you're on the job site. And it's just kind of fun. It takes maybe a minute, if that. And then the next day you get another question. And then very importantly, we have an annual awards. They're called the Champion Awards. And these are for the employers that are leading the way in culture change, who've really made a commitment to diversity, to expanding the definition of safety, to recognize that psychological safety is as important on a job site as physical safety. And so the annual awards give us an opportunity to recognize the leaders, to amplify the good work that they're doing, the results that they're having. And it also is a good marketing opportunity for those employers because it's so difficult to find talent in the construction industry right now. If you're an employer who's received a Champion Award, that makes you a desirable employer. That makes you an employer of choice. And we are finding that tradespeople are now looking for Builders Code employers when they're looking to change jobs. The Builders Code has been effective because we take an approach that is very curated to be relevant to the construction industry. We've focused on expanding the definition of safety in the construction industry to include psychological safety as well as physical safety. And what we said was, as soon as you have a job site that allows hazing, bullying, and harassment, you are allowing risk onto your site. Because if someone is being hazed, no matter who it is, obviously that person at the receiving end of that negative behavior is under stress. But very likely, the other members of the crew are also observing this in some way, and they are distracted. And when you have distraction and you have stress, you have a breeding ground for accidents. And so by going in to the Builders Code communications, by using the vernacular of safety and the proven and accepted imperative of safety, I think we were able to be much more effective right from the beginning. Another key element of the Builders Code that I think has contributed to its effectiveness is what might seem like a relatively small thing. But what we've done, and you can find on the Builders Code website, are a number of posters that you can download for a job site. And so we have posters that say this is a Builders Code work site. We have acceptable work site documents. By giving the employers signage that they can put up on the job site, we're helping them to remind the workers about the commitment that's been made to construction. I think one of the most important things we did with the Builders Code is we made it such a low barrier to entry that it can work for any construction employer. So if you're a large employer, you already have policies, you have training that you like, you don't need to use our policies. You don't need to use our training. Use whatever we've done that works for you. Even if it's just applying for an award, for a Champion Award at the end of the year, to showcase the work that you've done and the commitment that you've made. And I think that's really important because it's not forcing you into our training. It's not forcing you into our pledge. It's saying, wherever you are, we've got something to help you and make it work for you. And I think that's really important because if we were to bring this entire suite of services and require these pieces, every requirement is a new barrier for a different employer. So we've worked really hard not to do that. The Builders Code pilot was supported by an evaluation framework that was created by a third-party evaluator based here in Victoria, BC. They're called Malatest and Associates. What Malatest measured in broad strokes were the relevance of the project. So could we prove that there was a demonstrated need? The performance of the project, was it effective for employers? Was it effective for workers? And did the project support career advancement and specifically retention of women in the industry? The tools that we used in year one, we conducted a survey of 150 women in trades and a separate survey of 250 employers in construction. And both of those surveys were repeated in year two. At the end of the pilot year two, the evaluators conducted 25 key informant interviews to supplement the survey data. The findings from Malatest, from the interviews and the surveys, highlighted the need for programs like Builders Code to specifically address workplace culture in the construction industry. Some of the interviewees did note that introducing the Builders Code at their workplace had started to affect the culture in a positive way. And they said they could see that the program was fostering an emerging culture of equity and or strengthening one that was already there. And in particular, a number of respondents remarked on the conversations that were now happening about equity related issues that hadn't been occurring before. So awareness had been increased, comfort in discussing these topics had been increased, and there was a greater feeling of safety that this could be something that could be talked about, and if there were problems, that those might be addressed willingly. Many of the respondents also discussed the labor shortage in construction and specifically noted that a more inclusive culture would help to increase the pool of tradespeople and address that labor shortage, and that the Builders Code could play a key role in supporting that change. In terms of short-term project outcomes, as a demonstration of interest and relevance in the project, we achieved well ahead of targets for some very measurable actions. And so for website visits, we were 111% ahead of target. For pledge downloads, we were 106% above target. We've had thousands of free pledge downloads, which has been really satisfying to see. And also, for the policies, the HR policies, we were 521% above our target. And those policies continue to be very popular and are downloaded from all over the world. Before the Builders Code launched, the BCCA annual industry survey showed that about 64% of employers had implemented diversity policies in the construction industry in BC. But today, in our most recent survey that's just done a few months ago, with over 1,000 respondents, that number has climbed to 84%. So that's a huge shift. And we like to think that the Builders Code has played an important role in that. In terms of hard data, we can show that the percent of women in construction trades increased 30% over the period of the program, from 8,294 tradeswomen when we started to 10,716 at the end of the pilot period. If the rate of gender diversification continues at the same pace, we'll achieve our 10% goal much faster than the 10-year target that we set for 2028, despite a small setback during COVID-19, where women in general felt the impact of caregiving during pandemic more than men. And so we lost a little bit of traction during COVID, but we're hopeful that that will come back again. The Builders Code is definitely transferable to other jurisdictions and other industries. And in fact, we've had a lot of interest from both. We have already expanded outside British Columbia. We've developed a jurisdictional licensing model, and we are in a very ready position to work with other provinces and territories to expand the Builders Code in partnership with other nonprofit organizations similar to the BCCA. So for example, we've expanded through a partnership with the Northwest Territories and Nunavut Construction Association, which has received territorial funding to introduce all of the elements of the Builders Code to the construction industry there. We've also had a lot of interest from other industries, some that are very similar to construction, like mining. And so one of our recent Builders Code signatories, in fact, is Teck Resources, and they are a large mining and mineral company based in Vancouver with mine sites everywhere, and they became an official Builders Code signatory in the spring of 2022. And I'm speaking with several other mining companies and also mining associations who are interested in developing a miners code version of the Builders Code for their industry. And we have had inquiries from the hospitality industry, law enforcement, quite a number of different types of industries who see, I think, the value in what we're doing in terms of creating a suite of services that are flexible to where an employer is in their own journey of cultural development and paying attention to improving diversity in their team, but also in terms of bringing everybody in, not just a specific group, which I think is the way that it needs to go in order for people to feel seen, for everybody to feel part of the change. The advice that I would give to another organization that might be looking to create a Builders Code program really is to come and talk to us first, because we've put so much effort and time and money into creating something that is actually working, that we would love to partner with you. And so what we have seen is a few other organizations using and learning from the work that we've done to create their own versions of the program that we've done. And that can work, but it's a lot harder to start from scratch with your own thing than it is to partner with something that's already working, that has established trust and brand equity, that is built, in fact, with the goal in mind of partnering with other organizations.